Welcome to Through the Web podcast with me, your co-host Tawsif.
And me, Dagogo.
And we're on episode 20.
Yeah, very special event.
It is. Where are the confettis and the balloons?
I want to press one of these buttons, but I don't know what it's going to be. So
Let's just try one and see what it is. We don't know what it is. We won't know until Brayden puts it on his editing timeline.
Yeah, we don't have headphones.
So whatever that was our celebration.
Yeah. Well, look, I think it's been a good run. I'm saying that as if we're like ending.
It's almost like you're saying that we're ending the podcast.
No. 20 episodes. It's kind of flown by, and it's been good. A lot of good discussions. We've had a lot of fun. If you're just joining us, welcome. There's plenty more to come. That rhymes, just by the way. So.
No, for sure. It's I think it's almost been 6 months ish as well, and it's been very good to talk deeper at some deeper levels for some of the topics, because you don't usually get to do that. So yeah, very very happy to do this, and good to see a small niche community building around the podcast as well. Lots of regulars, lots of familiar names that we see in the comment section. So please do keep commenting and telling us, what you want to listen to more of, and just, your thoughts on the topics as well.
So I would like to start by asking you, what did you get up to this week?
This week was quite busy. Lots of, just work stuff. Didn't sleep well one night, which is a bit annoying. I don't track my sleep either as much as I used to. I used to have a Fitbit on and just track meticulously how I was sleeping throughout the thing. But this is the first time in weeks, because I had a really good run of sleeping well, and this was a little bit disrupted. So I'm not sure why. Don't remember changing much, but it is what it is. Just some nights just happens. How about you?
Yeah, I remember sleep. I remember how that used to be. Yeah, I just
do you?
Basically not. I'm a bat. I haven't been sleeping well for a long time. But aside from that, my week's been mainly seeing my sister, because she's been over from Melbourne. So we've been catching up a lot. That's been good, except she likes to talk a lot. So
should have a whole podcast with her.
Yeah, maybe. Actually,
lots of content.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been too bad. Hopefully she's not watching. But yeah, so it's been each hangout would be 6 to 8 hours kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, long time.
6 to 8
just
hours.
Going different places.
That's like a whole season of podcasts.
Yeah, basically. I should have just had a recorder and trimmed it up and put it online. But yeah, apart from that, that's been mainly my week. But working on a video about Netflix and their gaming content that they're bringing out. So stay tuned for that. But aside from that, just bits and bobs here and there.
It's interesting you just your point about having a recorder in a regular conversation. So there's actually one of my favorite podcasts of all time. It's called The Startup. Okay. I think I might have mentioned it in the past, but it's by Gimlet, which is like a podcast studio in the US, and the whole point of it was this guy who used to be in American radio, and he moved on to building a podcast studio, right? And that became Gimlet, right? And as he was doing that, from the point of inception, he picked up his recorder, and he basically documented the whole journey from when he got the idea to Gimlet becoming Gimlet. And he named the whole series Startup because Gimlet was the startup that he. Yeah. So imagine you thought of a company that you want to build, and it's straight away you get a recorder, get your thoughts out. And the best part was it wasn't just him talking to a recorder. It would be him going to his wife and be like, hey, just on the dinner table, right? It'd be like, hey, I'm thinking of leaving my job. It's almost like a reality show kind of thing. And the way it was done is so beautiful, because it wasn't like a week after week series. It was basically real time. He was uploading them. So there could be a gap of a few months and you'd hear nothing. And then all of a sudden, no, he's trying to seek for an investment for a startup, right? And he sits down with Chris Sacca, who's a big investor. And then he gets real time feedback from Chris Sacca, and then he puts it on the episode as well. So all the failures, the troughs and the peaks, all in that. Now you listen back to it, because it's a few years back. It's actually a really nice kind of documentation of what it takes to build a company. Yeah. Then he basically has as a partner, and then how they decide on the name. One of my favorite episodes is when they decided on the name. They went back two separate ways. The the co-founder or the partner he had. They decided on a name. The co-founder, he asked the co-founder to go to his house for dinner, and told him to record his conversation with his wife, and he did the same with his own wife, and they brought both of them back, and they didn't know what the outcome was until they played it back,
Right.
and one of them was like, "Oh, I don't really like the name and stuff." So it's quite
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
So I think it would be an interesting experiment just to try it in your regular life. I
Yeah.
think without any filter and just record. You don't have to post it. Just
No, like interestingly, that just brought up back a memory from me because I remember in high school, like when I would have been about 13 or 14, for some reason, I don't know why, till this day, like I just like recording things. Like, so for example, I'll just have like, you know, the creative MP3 players, they used to have like a microphone in them. So I'll just be having like conversations with my friend and just funny stuff we were saying and just like recording them and like listening back to it. I don't know where they are now, but yeah, it was a interesting feeling, like just having, you know, that moment captured like in that way. So yeah, I could imagine a whole podcast of that would be extremely interesting. So
yeah, and one of the things that I tell everyone as well is like take as many videos as you can of you know like good moments. Because that's essentially, you know, we used to do that with the home videos in the 90s with the VCRs and handy cams, but now with your cell phone and GoPros and whatnot, I think just keep them on. Like, you know, when you're meeting friends and families, obviously take their consent, but keep it on, you know, and trust me, like 10, 15 years from now,
you wouldn't regret it. Yeah.
it's and I've been doing that as well. Like, you know, in the past, from as soon as I kind of, you know, realized that that's a nice way to document life in general, I've just been doing that, and I've got like, you know, clips from 10, 15 years ago with friends who I no longer see regularly. And sometimes I'll just put it up and it's like, oh, that's like a nice memory to have.
I used to do a similar thing in uni. Like throughout the year, I'd just like take my phone and record, and like then at the end of the year, I'd do a compilation, like a big thing of like all the stuff that were done. And like, yeah, I was just that guy that always had the camera that was recording, and then I guess that's where I first learned editing, to be honest. And then from there, I
built Cold Fusion.
Yeah, this little thing here. So, yeah, let's move on to what you've watched this week. Was there anything interesting, any content that?
Yeah, so watched a couple. A video from Kurzgesagt.
Oh yes.
I think I got the pronunciation right. It's they're an animation channel that goes really deep into, you know, various topics, but mostly around human technology, society. Love the content that they do. And the latest video that they had was is civilization on the brink of collapse. And the whole, obviously I urge anyone listening or watching to actually watch the video, but the summary of it was that generally human civilizations have collapsed in the past in terms of empires. The global civilization in itself has never collapsed to a degree where it never made a comeback. But you know, the biggest collapses that we've seen are like the largest empires throughout time. And no matter what, in most cases, these empires were able to come back, no matter what the thing was. And even, I guess, the recent tragic event that they compared it to was the Hiroshima bombing, and how they rebuilt the city. And today it's it's a thriving city still. It's got the biggest populations. Obviously, that's not to say you just keep on fighting with each other, but given there's this existential dread that we have that everything's wrong. There's so much fighting and so much stuff you see on social media. Everything's going crazy. So what if we do go into like a whole species-ending war kind of thing? And in all scenarios, basically, it seemed like a positive video where they said that we have the know-hows, we have the capabilities to rebuild. So even if we collapse, the point of the video is that we have the education to rebuild. But the only thing stopping us is, I guess, some of our human traits and maybe some inaction in a lot of cases, because we've built this lifestyle, but at the expense of, say, the planet, there's only so much coal you can extract. But what if we got hit by a meteorite and everything's kind of going crazy? We won't have enough reserve to rebuild. So things like that. Very good video. Thought it was quite nice.
Yeah, that is quite interesting. one thing I'd say is like, I don't know how this is going to sound, but like, would a video like that be made 10 years ago? Like, or are people starting to sense something?
No, I think it would be, because I think if you think about, if you like say last 50, 60, 70 years, you know the doomsday clock? So
1 minute till midnight.
Sorry?
1 minute till midnight.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, it's a clock that a lot of I think scientists have kept in a way of seeing that how close we are to a global kind of apocalyptic tragedy, and they take in lots of different factors like wars and famine and economic conditions. And I think we've like over the last few years, we actually have been closer to a lot of different times in the past. I think the furthest away was around the 80s or something, when there weren't a lot of, crazy things happening. Obviously, we got to fact check that. But the point of it is that that indicates how close we are to some sort of a global tragedy or phenomenon, right? And in most cases, we have been very close to it. And, there were times where people thought that the world's going to get destroyed by the Cold War, by, some sort of meteorite. The pandemic is a great example. Like, I remember in their, sounds crazy. I remember in the 2020s, but the early 2020s when the news broke out, and it almost feels like a different life, right? We were just literally stuck. Like we didn't go out of our apartments or our houses for months. It's crazy when you think about it now. And the fact that, at that time there was a lot of anxiety around that, will we ever come back out of this? And even though we aren't completely out of it, at least there are signs to show if we've gotten out of it. So yeah, I would say, I think anytime we feel a bit on edge about these things, we tend to think, oh, this is it. But
there's been lots of this is it, you're saying.
Like 2012, for example. Remember how the...
that was just memes. Just memes.
Dude, I was scared though.
Really?
I mean, not to the point where I was, but I remember what day was it? 21st December or something. The calendar was supposed to
the Mayan calendar.
Yeah,
yeah.
But things like that obviously is a bit outlandish. But you know what I mean. Like there were other cases where you do feel like, oh, this is it kind of thing. And
right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I kind of beg to differ, because we have lots of things going on at the same time. Like, so the Cold War was one thing, like, yes, a threat of nuclear war and strike, but we have that mixed with like people just going nuts, like in terms of like, I don't know. This is going to be a bit external for everyone watching, but like, have you been watching the Australian news and what's been going on in Sydney, Canberra, Melbourne? Like,
regarding?
There's so much shootings. Like, there was a shooting in Canberra airport. There was like...
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Haven't I heard about this?
There was an assassination, like, of these two ladies. There was like a stabbing of this woman that was random, like in Perth. And it was just like... but it's... Okay, I'm just saying, because we never have gun violence, but like every week there's like 3 or 4. And it's like, I think like we were discussing among the family when my sister was here, and it's kind of like after the pandemic, I think people kind of just... Some people... Like, everyone took like a bit of a hit, but then the people that were on the fray are kind of just like tipped over now. And I think we're going to start seeing like the effects of all of that. Because that you can't ignore that. You can't just be like, 2 years of this different life and expect everyone to just be normal. Like there's going to be some follow-on effects from that. So I think we got that. We got the war, and we got like a lot of weird political corruption and stuff in different countries, as well as the financial situations. So I think it's just a lot of things together. And this is just me thinking about it. Like it's like a lot of different eras crossing over in one big thing. So I'm not saying there's going to be a doomsday, but I think it's like we have to deal with a lot more than...
I guess when you put it like that, for sure. I think there's, you can't just go back to quote unquote normal just straight after a global pandemic. Obviously, there's going to be things like that. But at the same time, I feel, like I said, like things have happened in the past, and we have made comebacks from them, and essentially, I feel there will be things like this, but at the same time, knowing what we've done in the past, I guess I'm more on the hopeful side of things.
And I think to subscribe to that fully, like we need good people in power. We need strong leaders, which I think. This is a story that broke yesterday, I think. This is going to be a very interesting little anecdote. But so the Finnish Prime Minister, who's a 36-year-old woman, she was caught. There was a leaked video of her like, partying it up and like dancing, going fully out. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the thing is, Finland's right next to Russia. And like literally the other month they were having a debate. Russia said, if you stop Russian immigration to Finland, we're going to retaliate. And then the Finnish government was like, yeah, we're doing that. So it's like literally on the cusp of World War III and she's out partying. But like, it doesn't mean much, but it's like that kind of image. It kind of says something. Like you kind of see that everywhere, like world leaders, like Boris Johnson, what he was doing as well. And like, I don't know, they just don't seem to have that resolve of what's needed at this time. This is like a time where people need to really like, be at their desk and hunkering down and working out plans. But it seems like all they care about is more political power or just like doing whatever or appearing to be doing something instead of actually, focusing on the issues at hand. That's just what I feel in terms of the political landscape. As Scott Morrison as well, you saw what he did. So, I think back to the main point, we just need strong leaders in this time, I think. And, hopefully we can get that. I don't know how this conversation goes.
I was actually reading up on this other thing about how like a nuclear war between two nations could spark like a global famine.
A nuclear war between two nations.
Two nations could like even like a simple small scale nuclear war could end up covering the world in ash and
something. Okay, so you're gonna have to fact check me on this, but something interesting I heard is that nuclear weapons don't have to be extremely radioactive. Like they don't have to be that dirty.
But in terms of I think the point of this was global famine. So basically, at the agricultural side of things will get impacted.
But that's from nuclear fallout, I'm assuming, right?
That's right.
Yeah, but
not in terms of radioactive, but say if the world's covered in ash and cloud.
Oh, okay.
Then you won't have
like same thing as a volcano.
As a volcano, that's right.
Yes,
that's right.
Yeah,
so I think the report was about how they looked at the most conservative, smallest nuclear war possible between two nations, and even the smallest scale would cause a global famine. Right. So which is pretty crazy.
But that's kind of the point of the weapons. It's like don't use them.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
And the whole and the fact of part of the article was that guess which country would flourish in terms of agriculture if it came down to that.
Give me a sec. Well, I'm going to say Russia because they got such a huge, but they're going to get bombed. So I don't know. Which country?
Yeah.
Maybe Australia because it's so far away.
It is. Exactly. You're right. So Australia would actually flourish in terms of, because of certain conditions of weather, because it would be cold.
Right.
And Australia would basically have because now it's so hot here, it'll have the ideal conditions to have a growing agricultural sector at that point in time. So
right.
It's and someone said that the article was quite funny. The way it was written is like the guy who was doing the research, as soon as his son saw it, it's like, oh, let's move to Australia.
Yeah. No, there's been quite a big. A lot of people see Australia as very far away and just a nice place to escape all that stuff. But then again, US stealth bombers were deployed around Taiwan like just the other day. So it's like we're not. There's still stuff going on.
Yeah, it's and I think one other thing, just to wrap that point off is again, these things has always happened. It's just the access to this information is just so frequent, and then so much.
That's true, but it's like my memory might be failing me, but I always used to be up to date with the news, and that would be a major event, like a stealth bombers being deployed over Taiwan. But that's just another day. Like I feel like there's just so much. I don't know. If
and that's what I mean. I guess that we'll have to do some sort of research or read a research back paper on this. But I think there's this term called doomsday scrolling.
Doom scrolling, yeah.
Doom scrolling, right? Yeah. So essentially, what it means is when you scroll something, it's just there's so much stuff that make it to your feed, and a lot of it is just negative, right? And that's what drives traffic. Like the other day, I was actually reading up on about the ozone layer.
It's healed. Right?
It's healed, exactly. Yeah. And it's a huge deal because 10-15 years ago we always talk about ozone layer and how there's a big hole in it. We've got to do to protect it. And now it's actually healed, but nobody talks about it. And
So that was kind of big news when the announcement first came out. I thought,
yeah, but see, like that is a positive news, right? And even if it came out, I didn't hear about it.
Yeah,
and then I'm quite actively seeking, news and all that kind of stuff. So things like that, for example, and it came through the idea of proper policies between nations taking the right steps, government taking the right steps, companies taking the right steps, right? Which shows that you can actually work together to do these things.
It was like CFCs, right, from refrigeration.
Exactly. So,
but the thing is, like, I think COVID showed us that that's gone. Like, that was the biggest test, and everyone just failed. It was amazing.
But I think overall, that's where I think the way we're consuming news these days, it just shows
the worst.
The worst,
there's a financial incentive for people to actually click on the worst thing.
Exactly.
I agree with that to an extent, but I think we're going to agree to disagree because I feel like there's a lot of commentators I was following, like, obscure, like, geopolitical stuff, like, years and years ago, and it seems like these events are faster and faster. Like, that's just my opinion, but that's
well, what did you watch that's not depressing?
Plenty of non-depressing stuff. So I watched the Verge review on the F-150 Lightning, so the electric version of the most popular truck in America. And there was good and bad. So essentially they're saying, like, it drives really well, it's fast acceleration, good utility. But the worst thing about it was the screen, like the actual, I guess, OS of the truck. It was extremely slow, poor utilization of space, a lot of digital controls instead of manual ones. I don't know why car companies do that. I think that's, it takes your concentration off the road and it's just harder to use. But yeah, so like they were saying that was the major downside. And, I was just thinking about that for a long time. It's like, how does this happen? How do you get such a, slow, sluggish, unintuitive, poorly utilized real estate screen in a car like this? I was like, was it designed by one guy, some poor engineer? I doubt it's Ford, but it's just kind of amazing to me. I just don't know how this keeps happening over and over again. Like, are they just expecting updates to fix the problems that they can't roll out, that have rolled out the door with the car? I just found that, like, very strange, but that's why. Do you have any comments on how something like this could keep happening?
No, not really. I think at the end of the day, whenever we see something like this that fails certain standards, is just cutting costs across, different areas.
Well, look, you can make a like a $300 Chinese tablet that can run better than this thing. So how?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I think obviously there's bureaucracy between these companies or within these companies that, you'll just have to look at, like, is what's standard across other companies or organizations that do fail to do these kind of things. And more often than not, it's either bureaucracy through ways that they've always dealt with things and they don't want to move away from it to innovate. And the other one is just cutting costs, right? And there's this, like, corruption and stuff, but where people would probably get, like, a deal and then keep some within the company and then not use that money to
maybe.
Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that happens in a lot of construction companies and stuff like that as well. So a bit of tragic news. So that came out of Bangladesh, where I'm from originally, and in the main city they were building a bridge, right? So what happens is they have, like, girders or something like that, and essentially one just collapsed on a car with people in it to just pass away straight away. Huge failure. Basically, the crane couldn't, like, if you see the image, the crane was just toppled around. The crane just was not equipped to carry that thing. And it just toppled and just just one of those freak accidents. But it's not really freak accident if you think what led to this point. It's probably the construction company lack of overseeing the requirements, probably getting cheaper cranes, probably doing deals that would give you make you keep more money versus spending that money onto the equipments and stuff like that led to this murder essentially, as opposed to just an accident because these companies they tend to cut costs in a lot of ways, and I feel, and it's a bit different to your story, but at the end of the day, whenever there's a lack of good outcome, in my head it's always like, oh, they're just trying to either cut costs or
what's the saying? It's like, show me the something like, show me the cost structure and I'll show you the incentive, but I think that's wrong. Anyway, forget about that.
That sounds very wordy to be a quote.
Oh no, it's like, show me the something and I'll show you the incentive, but I can't remember what the first part
the cost
is.
structure.
No, I don't think it's cost structure.
Exactly, can't be cost structure. But yeah, interesting stuff. Overall, I guess that leads us to the first story of the day.
Hit me.
Crypto.com.
Oh, okay. I was just about to say, so I don't know the topics for today, so this is genuine reactions.
Okay, so Crypto.com has...
Actually, I did hear this one.
has been laying off people. They announced that they were going to lay off 250 people in middle of this year, which is in June. But turns out they've been quietly laying off more hundreds and hundreds throughout the course of the last few weeks. And there's actually an insider source with a quote that says, "We were assured the layoffs would impact 5%, which comes to 260 employees only. But people in the company have recently been noticing that many employees are disappearing from our internal Slack or scheduled meetings."
Sorry, that's not funny, but that's just so bad. It's
like, you imagine, like, you have a meeting with someone and they're just not there. Yeah. It's like, oh, what happened?
Come back.
We don't know. just not on Slack anymore. Everything's just gray. You try to set up a meeting with your boss, doesn't exist in the company contact list. But the thing is, it's not just Crypto.com. It's like BlockFi, Coinbase, OpenSea. It's just it's a reflection of where the crypto market is. And it's one thing, something else that I watched, which is CoffeeZilla. Again, there's this video about the NFTs, where they are based on, like, obviously last year was a huge NFT boom. Every celebrity and their dog had an NFT project. Yeah. And where they're at now, and most of them are just, a huge run.
Yeah, I think he was saying like -20 or -30 is good for like an NFT project.
Yeah.
Most of them like down -90.
I think Gary V's one was the only one that was up, which is insane.
Yeah, but it's, he knows this.
He knows, which he gets lost. He's been getting a lot of bad rep, and I've been following him for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm yet to see something he doesn't follow up on. Like for this project, I thought this is the one he's actually going to take a big hit, and yet it's still up.
No, I think he did the right thing.
Which is crazy. But tying with the whole economy and crypto market and NFTs, it's not looking too good, except there was an interesting story that you found.
Yeah, so 7 News Australia, for all those Australians watching, there was a piece that they did about Crypto.com teaming up with a servo, retail kind of chain. And essentially it was a world first where you could pay for your food or your snacks or your fuel with crypto. So I was thinking about it. I was like, how does this work? But then later on they were talking about it because in terms of the fluctuations and everything, but it's like the dollar amount stays the same. So like if you have something that is versus that is $1, it will be $1, but just at that current exchange rate, what it is in crypto. So I was like, yeah, interesting, because usually when people are talking about spending crypto in the real world, it's like this costs 0 point something Ethereum or whatever, but it's like, no, the dollar is the peg and the crypto is the thing that fluctuates, which makes sense. But it's the opposite to the imagining of what it originally was. But I guess that's just how it is now. But yes, that was a world first, and they were teaming up with Crypto.com to get that happening. So I'm surprised that's coming in from Australia of all the places when the government's has a side on crypto. But that's
and Crypto.com, which just got laid off.
So that's interesting. I guess maybe they're taking a cut off the top of these transactions, and that's going to somehow prop them up. But overall, I think the market is it's bye-bye for now. I think it's going to be a crypto winter for quite a while, because no one has the appetite for risk anymore. Like before, people were just throwing money at everything, but now that's kind of over. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to Crypto.com. I'm actually not that familiar with them. Obviously, they got the domain name, so they must be huge.
And then they have stadiums and stuff.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I heard about that.
So they're
what do they actually do? Is it an exchange or?
As far as I know.
Okay.
They're one of the bigger ones for sure.
Okay. Interesting.
On a side note on that, you said a few Australian servos.
Yes.
So as far as I know, we're the only ones who call them servos.
Did I say servos?
You did.
Oh.
And I picked it up
Service
because
stations, fuel outlets.
petrol stations, gas stations,
Yes.
service. So we call them servos in Australia. I think it's
yeah.
just a colloquial thing. And that just is so interesting because a lot of the day-to-day words after, obviously I moved to Australia more than a decade ago, but these kind of words, and it's not like I didn't know then.
Okay.
But now it's like day-to-day speak,
Right.
like arvo, like arvo. For those who don't know, is afternoon.
Yeah.
So things like that is just. Brayden's obviously from here.
There was an interesting one that I thought of the other day. Have you heard of on your bike? Okay, so that's like get out of here, like on your bike. Like that's I don't know. I thought of that yesterday because like I was thinking in Europe, like when I was over there, like they were just like, oh, just some Australian slang. And then at that time, you're kind of like, oh, you just say the generic ones and don't think of other ones. So I thought of that like today. But let's get Brayden in on here. Let's hear some Australian slang. Sorry to put you on the spot.
What's your favorite Australian slang?
Oh, I don't even know if I use that much Australian slang. I guess you don't really know like when you're just talking normally, right?
Yeah.
Like servo was a good one.
Yeah.
Servo, arvo. It's something O.
Yeah.
Right? We just add an O or a.
Did you have an Australian slang nickname?
No. See, my name doesn't really convert.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're from Brayden to Braydo.
Right? Yeah, Braydo. Actually, a couple people call me Braydo. Yeah, it's names. Names is a common one, right?
Yeah.
Like, or we just change full words into basically nothing. Like it's like two letters.
Like thank you's ta.
Ta, yeah.
Ta, yeah.
So do you think Brayden's got a proper Australian accent?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. I think for those listening in, do you think Brayden's got a proper Australian accent?
Yeah,
Do you understand what he's saying? I think that's the first question.
Do I talk too fast? Everyone says Australians talk too fast.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah, well, thanks Brayden
Thanks, Brayden. Like,
for the input. But no, I think just wanted to kind of clarify for those listening from the other side of the pond.
yeah, so yeah, servo is a petrol station, fuel station, gas station for Americans.
It's almost like the Australian lingo is the original Gen Z TikTok lingo. You know what I mean? Like, because on TikTok and like Gen Z speak, there's their words,
like no cap,
stuff like that. Like, just there's so many slangs and things that are just out there, and then you just have to pick them up when you're, especially on TikTok. It's just crazy. Like some of the things you don't even like think about, and they have whole different connotations. And
sorry about that. To interrupt, did we talk about this last episode about TikTok and memory? Or am I thinking of something else? Someone else I was talking to. Okay, this is a good one.
Okay.
All right, people listening at home or like listening wherever you are, going for that run or in your car, play along. For any TikTok or reel or short or anything that you've seen, can you remember one particular one from the previous week?
Kind of.
You can.
That's because so here's the thing. My wife's not on TikTok, but there's lots of things that I want to show her on TikTok.
Right.
So I have a folder that is basically under my wife's name.
Okay.
And maybe once a week when we get a chance to kind of hang out, when our times match and stuff.
Yeah.
I go through that folder and I show it to her. So that's why I can remember.
Okay,
but I understand where the question's coming from.
Yeah. No, because I've had this discussion with a couple of people, and it seems like literally, like if you're just scrolling through and you see something, it'll be funny for that moment, but all of this content you just do not remember. And like a week goes by and it's gone. And like...
Yeah, it's almost like the way I see TikTok content, basically memes, right? So I'm not memes in like you only see memes, but these are the way I used to treat. Yeah, I used to treat them. I treat them the way I treat memes.
Oh,
it's
okay,
like I'll look at a meme. Oh, haha, funny. I'll send it to a friend.
Yeah,
and that's what I do with TikTok as well. At least the ones that come to my feed. But there's quite a few interesting ones that I do save to go back to, like recipes or some really creative stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I think I'm talking about in general.
In general, yeah,
like,
I think you're right there.
Because I didn't think about it, and then when this was brought up, I was like, that is true. Like I cannot remember a single like short or something I saw from.
There's also another thing. So again, I was watching Colin and Samir, and they brought on Reed. I forgot his last name, but he's the manager of Mr. Beast, and there was this part in that conversation where he was talking about how it's going to be super difficult for short form creators who solely focus on short form stuff to actually build a career, because with TikTok videos, it's like the way we treat it is you don't remember the creator. You don't remember what comes on your feed. And it's almost like flipping, switching TV channels, like, I just watch a little bit of that, click something else. And you don't have that connection to a TikTok creator as you would have to a YouTuber or, some other form of creator who have more long-term kind of content, right? Because the way I follow TikTok is just whatever's on my feed. I don't go back to a creator sometimes I might follow them, but I hardly ever go back. No, what's new that they have posted, right? And it's almost like they go through flows, like ebbs and flows. So few months, a creator will be at the top of their game, and then they're gone, kind of thing. Like,
what do you mean by gone?
Gone because, for example, they might be the ones to say introduce a particular trend, and that trend will catch up. Everybody will try and do the same thing, and then they're just like the trend's dead. So
this kind of thing scares me, man. It's like it's so fast moving and disposable. It's like junk food.
It is. Like, and I think, and the way I see it, there's a place for everything. There's a place for McDonald's as well. There's a place for healthy eating. So it's just how you plan for getting on TikTok, right? Like, say, if your entire personality or mindset is, especially in, I think this is quote unquote advice, unsolicited advice for young ones listening in. But if your entire personality, like you're growing up and think, I want to be a TikTok influencer or I want to be a TikTok creator, I think that's the kind of mentality that's scary, because it's just so short-lived. Even wanting to becoming a YouTuber or any sort of creator in general online, it's a very short span for most people. There's only a few.
Who was saying that the average YouTuber lifespan is 5 to 7 years? Was that?
It'll have to be less now. I would say between 2 to 3 years. I would say, unless you came in an early adopter, and unless you've like you're really good at what you do, kind of thing, on top 1%.
But yeah, back to the TikTok thing though. You've probably seen this, but I saw a Vice documentary about like a TikTok house where they had like a whole bunch of young teenagers, I think, who were like, wanting to be TikTokers. Yeah, and they basically like would sit and plan what they're going to do for the day, and the whole day was like around
filming
like
stuff.
making TikToks and everything. And I was like, a lot of people think it's easy, but to have that stress of like having to be on top of things like every day, and like, if you like lose out for a week or something, that's it.
It's the same concept of, the Team 10 that Jake Paul used to do, right? So it's the whole YouTuber vlog community. You have different people living in the same house doing the same thing over and over.
That's still a thing. Do people do that anymore?
No, not in the world of YouTube, but that shifted to the TikTok community, right?
Yeah, okay.
And essentially, I think there is a place for these kind of, because the type of content that I get on TikTok now is so nice, like actually
let's cater to you. So it's
exactly
not going to be people dancing and
and most of the stuff is either very creative. There's a lot of really nice, food recipes that you can make at home and all the kind of stuff, like the stuff I'm interested in, or just quick, tidbits about tech and news and all that kind of stuff. So it does cater to you for that, and it's just a quick kind of. And one thing that we also mentioned in the past is how Google search is slowly being replaced by Gen Zs with TikTok search, and there is a room for that as well. So, I think there's some elements to it. Actually, we have TikTok and Instagram as part of our story towards the end of the conversation.
Okay.
I had them, so I think I'll just bump it up to this part, where there's a new social media app, and I think we talked about this before as well. It's called BeReal.
Yes.
And I mentioned it in the past, but I bring it back again because BeReal's been really taking off over the last few months, where it's seen a surge of downloads, and it's just becoming a popular entity. It's amongst TikTokers and Twitter users. It's almost like they're also kind of moving away from the noise or the junk food style of TikTok into something more quote unquote authentic, right? So for those who don't know, like BeReal is a company that tends to be the anti-Instagram or the anti-TikTok. It's actually founded in January 2020, so right before the pandemic, and it's always had a slow kind of, very small community users amongst college goers and stuff like that. It's only the last 6 months or so, it's really become like the number one app.
Before you continue, number one app of
on iOS
downloads.
The last week or so.
Okay, so before we continue, let's do a little something here. Do you think a video on this would be
on BeReal?
Yeah,
yeah,
should be good.
All right, so.
Let us know in the comment section if you want to see something on that.
Yeah, I would like to watch it because it's such a new thing, and I think it'll.
Writing it down.
Actually.
Yeah. No, keep talking.
Yeah, no, I think that'll actually be interesting because I think with BeReal though, I feel that it won't reach the levels of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. I'll first explain what it does, right? So it's essentially you get a 2-minute slot every day to take and post your pictures without any editing, any filter, and it takes an image with both front and back camera. So essentially, wherever you are, it'll send you a notification and it'll say it's time to BeReal with like 2 like warning signs on the side, and you get 2 minutes to post. That's it per day. You miss that window, you miss that window.
Okay.
And essentially, that's what the whole app is. And they've raised a fresh $85 million in capital, which has now valuing them at $600 million, which is specifically significant because they don't have any revenue in terms of like how Facebook or other platforms would have an advertising way of making that money. They don't have that anything that's in stone, and the venture caps are also very, very cautious of where they put the money in, right? So why is it catching on is the thing. I think it's a mix of things. Apparently there's a nostalgia factor. So lots of people are saying that this feels like an app that it reminds them of the tech before social media took over.
So it's kind of like if our old school Nokias and everything
had a social media app.
This is what we would.
There's no likes, there's no anything like, and then they specifically say in their thing that if you want to become famous, stay on TikTok and Instagram. This is not a place to become famous, right? So that's their brand value or the USP, right? And also the creative constraint of that 2 minutes that you have to time to do or take a photo. And it's almost like how Twitter catapulted with the 140 characters and Vine had the 6-second limit, right? You have to think within that short span. So I think that kind of keeps people on daily hook. And some people love like how mundane it is, like how boring it is, because everywhere else is just flash and content, and this one's just simply boring, and that's why so many people love it. So I think that's what some of the reasons why it's picking up, but that's also the reason why it won't be as big as TikTok or Instagram, because there's no network effect.
So I need to understand. So how do you follow people or look at things, or is it?
I think for that we'll have to kind of use it. Maybe let's use it for a week and then report back.
Okay. Use it for a week? Yeah. Oh, okay, sure.
I haven't downloaded it, so I'll probably use it. I'll definitely download it and use it and I'll report back next week. But that's what were your thoughts on something like this?
The nostalgia factor I think is one, but I think people are just getting sick of just so much content. So the anti-smartphone revolution video that I did, I think it just goes off the back of that, where it's like people, we can see that we're getting kind of not like mentally sick in a way from just having so much content at us and just the anxiety of what other people are doing and looking at what they're doing and kind of like being like, oh, why can't I be like that? And then you've got this dirty thing, how it's all fake anyway, and then it's just playing with people. So it's kind of like people just want to, stop that. And I think that's the simplest long and short of it. It's kind of just getting away from all of what we've been accustomed to for the past decade and just taking a step back. I think that's the underlying thing.
I think so too. And I think that's why it'll have a very niche kind of community, because at the end of the day, no matter how much we hate on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, they serve this innate human desire like they serve this human want, whereas BeReal is serving this human need, and generally the wants always win when it comes to needs.
Yeah.
So no matter what we say, it's like, it's just almost like, you're still gonna go for that junk food McDonald's, no matter how many plates of salads are in front of us, kind of thing. So I think that's why BeReal will probably not be as big as others.
But the thing is, like, maybe there's potential. Like, they could add. I reckon it's going to go like this, right? They start.
That's the
with this,
slippery slope.
Yeah, authentic thing, and they're like, let's just add this. Let's just add this. It becomes more popular. Like, hey, it just becomes.
That's what Instagram is today, and that's what I want to kind of tie in because with Instagram, Instagram is losing its identity. As you know, we in fact was watching a video, a little bit of Instagram. We didn't really see
Actually,
it.
a little side story. So we're testing out Brayden's new MacBook Pro, 16-inch.
Whatever that is, we don't know.
16-inch M2. Is it M2? M1 Pro. Yeah, sorry. And the speakers are, and the like, obviously the screen is amazing. So we're just watching a little bit of this content, the Instagram thing. So
So basically we were testing out Brayden's new MacBook where we just wanted to see what videos are there, and the one that came out was I think it was Peter McKinnon's take on the new Instagram or how it's not there anymore the way it used to be, and if you think about the trajectory of Instagram's lifestyle, right? It started off as a simple photo sharing app where you could add filters to make it look all vintage, almost like a photo album, share what you're up to with friends, to the point where people were pissed off. Just complain about it on Facebook that I don't want to see what food you're eating, right? Because the whole, the whole time where taking out your phone to take a photo of your food was frowned upon.
Yeah.
Remember those times?
Yeah.
And that came from Instagram because people were sharing really minor details of their life, and it obviously attracted a crowd. Facebook buys them, fair enough, and they were successful for a fair bit of time, and I think their highest point was when they actually copied Snapchat, because Snapchat was rising, and then Instagram was like, you will take stories, and I think there was this 1 to 2 year window in the mid 2000s where they crushed Snapchat.
Mid 2000s, later than that.
2010s, sorry, 2010s, my bad. Where they crushed Snapchat in their own game, and Instagram almost felt like, this is the place where you can share quick things if you need to. You can post stories, you can follow your close friends, and now with TikTok kind of taking over the short form, they're confused now. They're like, reels everywhere. There's so many sponsored posts. There's shopping. There's like, and you rarely see your friends anymore.
I think,
it's just
that's
celebrities.
true. But I think another problem that Instagram, like, of my cursory glance, because I'm not an Instagram person, but like the comment section is ridiculous. Like, as in just bots.
Yes.
And then the new thing that everyone's saying is like, whoops, I found a real comment in the bot section. Like,
there you go.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I think it's just because there's so many promotions and scams and
and as soon as you get that kind of feeling of where you can make money out of it, that's where I guess you'll see these bots, right? But overall, I think that's what Instagram's been trying to do, is just copy and not copy everything, but at the same time they want to be at the forefront of anything that's out there, and I think it works. For me, in my head, it's like, if the data shows that people are engaged on the app and they're using the app, they're gonna make those changes. At the end of the day, it's in their best interest, right?
But the thing is, like, now I have no idea about what I'm about to say, but what if that engagement that they have now is for a detriment in the future? Like, people do engage more, but then eventually people are like, maybe I don't like this as much as.
And I think that's where they have to find something new to include or innovate, right? Because for any company, especially a social media company, the bottom line is how much time are people spending on this app, and if not adding reels, or if adding reels shows that they have more people coming in, they're gonna stick to it, no matter what we say or what we think about it. So I think that's the weird part. It'll lose its identity, but it will still go on to have more engaged users, and I think that's where that's how they will take their decisions, right? So
I think I feel bad for the original Instagram people who had a big following just taking photos.
That's
right.
right.
Artists in some way or another, and it's like, it's going to be hard.
It's funny because when they migrated to TikTok, they used TikTok's video formats to showcase those photos. So they'll have like a nice trending sound or a nice aesthetic sound, and then they'll just have the photos kind of play along with those sounds. So there are ways around it, kind of thing. But I think I'll just wrap this topic up with one final thing. Is just somebody said that we give us the Instagram back because we use Instagram to follow our friends and we use TikTok to follow strangers. And Instagram is just taking that away. It's the friends aspect away. So, and if you think about it, there's actually, other than Facebook, and Facebook's crap, but there's no place where you can just follow what friends are up to anymore. You know what I mean? It's just news updates. Sorry?
BeReal.
No. Yeah, BeReal. That's it. This is the whole segment sponsored. No, it's not. Just to be clear. But moving on to the next topic. I've been doing pretty reasonable for time. This is a very interesting topic that'll love Dagogo, because Adam Neumann is back. He is back with a vengeance.
Okay. What's he done this time?
Adam Neumann, for those who don't know, well, you should know, because if you've been following Cold Fusion's videos, Dagogo has done a full two-part two-part video on Adam, who's basically the ousted founder of WeWork. So he's back with a $1 billion property venture, and it's called it's called Flow. And this is after saying that he's learned, quote unquote, plenty of lessons after his spectacular implosion of WeWork. Anderson Horowitz, he's a Silicon Valley venture capitalist. Firm, not the capitalist, but the firm, they were an early backer of Airbnb, Facebook, and Skype. They announced in a blog post that they have invested around $350 million in Flow, which is basically a community-driven rental startup, which was founded by Neumann. Anas also said that the story of Neumann has been exhaustively chronicled, analyzed, and fictionalized. But for all the energy that people have put into covering the story, it's often underappreciated that only one person has fundamentally redesigned the office experience and has led a paradigm-changing global company in the process, which is Adam Neumann. It is unclear from Flow's website, though, what the company intends to do. But currently, if you go to the site, it consists only of a landing page with the words "Live Life in Flow," and it's coming in 2023. The whole point of it is that, as they've kind of communicated as well, is to transform the rental housing market of the US. Just to add a bit more context, basically, they're saying that as a result of the pandemic, many people will live in places far away from where they work, and many more will shift to a hybrid environment. As a result, they'll experience much less, if any, of in-office social bonding. And therefore, they're going to cater to this whole new dynamic of people moving from one place to another, or just basically a new rental boom that they foresee will come out of something like that. Funnily enough, Neumann's been spending much of his downtime post WeWork crisis to buying up properties. So the last few years, all he's been doing is just racking up properties. He has amassed $90 million worth of residences across New York and in California, and it's been reported that as of 2022, he owns almost 4,000 affordable apartments across the world with a total worth of $1 billion. So, how are you feeling, Dagogo?
I'm just surprised that, I don't know, like whether it's like good publicity or bad publicity or whatever, like these founders that, just show time and time again that they're not like they're not fit for the job. Why do they just get all this investment again? It's like, just because they're a name that's like built this company. Yeah, that's that's an achievement, not taking anything away from him. But the thing is, like, the way he ran that thing and all the mistakes he made, like, it's not it's not the safest investment in the world. So that just surprises me. But as far as what his idea and what he's doing, I'm not sure if that's really that sustainable, because I've been looking at a few things like locally here in terms of like people moving out from the pandemic and like off to regional centres, but they're starting to come back now. So it's like that trend. I don't think it's going to, like, some people obviously will stay. There'll be hybrid models and everything, but I think, this is the peak of what his business model is, and then it's going to go down from here and when people start moving back in. So I'm not sure how sustainable.
And plus, I think they haven't shared much details other than the fact they're announcing the funding. So I think once they share a bit more details, it'll be easier for us to, I guess, make a judgment call as to what's going to happen. But based on this, you're right.
Yeah, isn't that his whole? Okay, well, from what's written there anyway, like his whole thing is, people like I don't know, man. Like it's just I can't believe this. Like
it's and this is something we touched on in the past as well about CEOs having to have some sort of a different mentality, right? And I think what's shameless for most is perceived as grit by some, because if it were any other person, what Adam has done with WeWork and the way he got ousted for his different antics, any other person would be like hanging their head down, shame, taking time to reflect and, stay away from the scene, maybe work on something, I don't know, take up learning how to paint and something. This guy went out and bought $90 million worth of...
he was onto his next idea. Anyway,
and I'm sure it was immediately after he got out from, WeWork. And I think that showcases, there's this, I don't know, this whole crazy mentality some of the CEOs have. And I don't know, like it almost seems like you need to have this mentality to be able to be, or to get like this kind of funding to do things at this scale.
Is that the case? Do you think that's really the case?
I don't believe it is, but it just seems like more and more of these stories that come out, it always showcases a CEO that has got something loose in their brain that takes away their empathy, their sense of shame, their sense of anything, and they're just I don't know, they're just hyper focused on the next big thing or the big thing, and it doesn't matter what.
Why can't you just extract that component, that they're focused on the next big thing, and then that would make a good CEO, like while being, courteous and.
And I agree. Like there are many CEOs who
you're talking about the biggest.
Because if you think about it, yeah, exactly. Because we don't hear about those CEOs. We hear about these ones.
Yeah, but maybe that's the media again, like the negative and the controversial. Like there's probably people running billion-dollar companies.
Like I can't talk about Sundar Pichai in this podcast because he has done nothing extravagant, controversial, anything like that. So in some ways, we are quote unquote the media as well to an extent. And what attracts us are stories like this. It's so weird.
We've gone real meta. Wow,
that's it.
That's interesting. But yeah, like I don't really have that much to say. Like I don't know the full details from what's written there. I'm just appalled. Yeah, I just can't believe it. Like people just throwing money at this guy.
How does it do? Have you seen in Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
That part where Jesse just keeps like just cries and it's like, how does he keep getting away with this? How does he keep?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the scene that comes in my head.
Exactly. Yeah. But anyway, let's leave Neumann aside for now.
So that was the Adam story with his comeback. But I guess that's where we wrap the show up today.
Yeah, I'm very, very disappointed that
that's where we end the show.
Yeah, that Adam's back. Well, we'll see. Maybe some more videos will come out of this. Anyway, see how I screwed up this time. Anyway, so thanks for watching, and we'll catch you again soon for the next episode. Cheers.